Hey, good morning, everybody. Can anyone hear me?
Good morning.
Morning. Ah, well, as we do on I have not made it to campus. I'm sorry if you've gone to Lents Hall. However, I did determine that I have exactly 5 books left. So I made progress. I found the books. Now I got to sign them and get them onto campus. I'm sorry that I haven't done that. So, good morning, everybody. I hope that you stay dry given the rain. Oh, excuse me. April showers bring May flowers, right? So let's all be happy about the gloomy weather. How about some review? Anybody have any questions?
Is the final gonna be like the midterm? Just multiple
Yeah.
choice? Okay.
Yep, exactly like the midterm. Okay, some reminders. 1 week from today, the final exam will have been opened about 52 minutes ago. So 9 a.m. on Thursday, the final exam will be available. It'll be available for you to submit until 4 p.m. So you'll have the 9 to 4 in which to do the multiple choice final exam. Readings, I'm going to do a final grading of your reading this weekend. And so if you are going to make any adjustments to your reading score, it has to be done by Friday night because I can't predict when on the weekend I will actually do the grading. Same is true for, let's extend that for any projects. But please, folks, if you hand in a project that's late or perhaps resubmit a project, email me a short email saying that you've done so. Because Schoology makes it all but impossible to figure out what one assignment was resubmitted. It just says you have a number of assignments resubmitted. I don't know which one. I don't know who did it. They don't make that easy. Okay. So any questions for review? Apparently, the course evaluation website is open and available for you to fill out course evaluations. I encourage you to do that. And I hope that you've had a good experience in the class. Let's see, any other announcements to make? Does anybody have any announcements to make?
I got my computer fixed.
Yes, I was going to ask you about that. Good, good. So did they replace the battery?
I think I don't know if it was the battery. It was like maybe it is, but it had something to do with the charging.
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully that's working again, and hopefully I don't have to deal with that again.
Good, good. Well, it's good to have, your own computer back. It's like sleeping in your own bed. Other people's beds are nice, but your bed's best. So computers are just like beds, right? So, all right. Anybody else? Hey, we have a few people missing today, I think, that are on their way to, I think women's volleyball has a trip, and I'm not sure. I think at least one person in this class is in the women's volleyball. I recently got to know the coach of the women's volleyball team. No, wait, maybe it's women's soccer. Do we have a women's soccer team? Anybody
Yeah.
know? Yeah. Well, I recently got to know somebody who coaches something. So there, my wife asked me, so what did you talk about with so-and-so? I said, I don't know. I think that's some type of stereotypical male behavior. Mhm. I don't know. I didn't ask. Well, they just had a new baby. Well, it didn't come up. Anyway, I've got two final technologies that I want to share with you. One is being able to write out GIF animations, which I promised all semester long. But the other, which we'll do first, is a way of making polished command line programs. Teaching you how to do windows and menus and buttons, that's outside the scope of this class. So we've been concentrating on programs that you run from the command line. Now, it turns out that there does exist several ways, in fact, of organizing command line options. And when you do that, you're sort of taking control of the command line. It's in the past, we said, if argv sub 1 or 2 is present, then it means something. But that's not really very well organized. I mean, you're just sort of like relying on the user to remember that the argument in position n means something. So what I'd like to show you today is how to add meaningful command line options. And the goal here is that when you've learned this, you'll be able to make polished command line terminal run programs. Okay, so if there are no questions for review, I'll dive in. So let me give you another 10 seconds to ask a question. Okay, so if you would be prepared to program some Python, and let's take a crack at it. Okay, so apparently I got a new release of Visual Studio Code. Don't save that. Okay, so I'm going to create a new program in which we'll use to learn this about this new technology. I'll call it go.py for get opt. Okay, so get opt is the least Pythonic way of getting command line options. Get opt is very, very old. And even though it is the oldest way to get command line options within Python, I think it's still the easiest. It's the newer ways do all sorts of magical things for you, but it's mysterious how those magical things get done. With getopt, you're doing all the magic, and that way it's much easier, I think, for beginning students to understand. So let's see, let's start off with import getopt. You will not need, hello?
Professor, you're not sharing the screen.
Why not? Let's end the instruction on the same note that I began instruction. I'll just add the whole screen so that way I won't mess up. Okay, thank you, Milo. So import getopt. Getopt is built in. You won't need to do any pip3 installs for getopt. It's already there. So let me show you in the terminal what an organized command line option really means. For example, if I do an ls, it tells me lists all the names of the files in this and subdirectories in this directory. However, I can modify the usage of ls by giving certain command line options. For example, ls, let's try -h. And that didn't do anything. Okay, so ls --help. Okay, well, you see, there's a lot of options there. But notice, at first, well, let me just try an option. Wow. ls -l, and that changes the behavior of ls. So this -l is a command line option, and it has certain meaning. It's in this case, produce a long listing. In our program, let's say the one that was searching student data, we would say, and now I'm not going to be able to run it because it's not in this folder, but I would say Python 3, studata.py, and then I'd have to say, let's say the first argument is just, we all agree, is going to be the name of the studata file. There is definitely something wrong with my computer because I have been typing and there's nothing showing up. Okay. Studata.csv, and then we would specify the second argument. If given, it'll be the major, right? And if you don't give one, it would be all, or you could specify all. But this is you're depending upon the user to remember that the first argument is the data file and the second argument is going to be the major if given. So it might be a lot easier for the user if you said, okay, -d followed by the data file. And then how about -m followed by the major that you want. Or perhaps single letters have a single dash, but you can also, by convention, use 2 dashes and specify a word. So this is called a long option. So what I want is -m and -- major to be the same thing. Or perhaps -d studata.csv, or maybe 2 dashes. This is very disconcerting. I'm typing and nothing is happening. So I don't know where. Okay. So I might do something like that. Okay, so what we're going to learn about now is how to implement these nice organized command line options. One thing I should point out right here is without these organized command line options, we had to, again, the user had to remember the first argument is going to be the data file, second argument is the major. Now that we have the symbolic way to identify options, they could go in any order. Okay. So first, let's, by way of actually kind of documenting and providing help, let's write a function that will get invoked when the user asks for help or perhaps gives an option we don't understand. And typically that's called a usage, how to use the program. And it's just a few print statements. So we'll say -h, and let me give some spaces there, or -- some spaces, prints this text. Yeah, that's what it does. And how about -d file, or a long option -- data specifies the data file. Okay, and you know what? Let's add a comment here saying it's required. Right, because if in that program that did the studata, if you don't have any studata, there's not much to do. How are we doing so far? Anybody have questions? Okay, and let's see, -m or -- major specifies the major, and I'll even add some more additional help, defaults to all. Okay, so I will call this function when I get a command line option that I don't understand, or if the user selects -h or -- help. And by writing this first, I've also kind of documented what my intentions are. All right, so how about let's handle the options in its own function so that everything is nice and well encapsulated. And once I've written the code, I can forget about it. So how about def handle options? And let's initialize a variable to store the data file name, and it's going to be empty. And notice I said that it was required. So as part of the ending of this function, I can say if the data file variable is still empty, it means you didn't give it. And therefore I can error out, print an error message and error out. Okay. Let's implement the default value for major. So the default value for major is all. And that way, if you don't give the -m or -- major option, it already has the value of all. That's how you implement the default value. All right. So getOp wants to run, it preferably wants to run in a try and except. And the I'm going to fill in some stuff here next, but let me get to the using getOpt. So getOpt dot getOpt and open there. Now, where do the command line options come from? How does Python get access to the command line? You know the answer to this. I'll give you a hint. Import sys. So where are the command line options?
In sys.argv.
Yes, but we don't want to give the all of the argv. There's no reason to give argv 0, right? So I'll start out with 1 and go to the very end. So there's a slice of argv. And now I'll specify the short options. Now the short options are in a string, and there's the H for -H. Here's the D for -D, but notice that if you give a -D, it's supposed to be followed by a string. So that's indicated by putting a colon after the letter D. So H has no colon. That's because -H is by itself, whether it's given or not. But if it is given, there's nothing that follows it that's required to follow it. Unlike -M requires the major, -D requires the file name. So requiring a string to come after the option is indicated by following the letter with a colon. And let's do the same for major. Okay, so that finishes the short options. Now let's give also the long options, which are given in a Python list. So a string for --help. Okay, and then a string for --data. But how do I specify in the long options that --data requires something to come after it? to do that, so what's the equivalent in the long options to the short options colon? So that would be with an equal sign, go figure. Okay. So that equal sign does, why didn't they use the colon so it would be consistent? I don't know. But there you have it. One more. Whoops. Dash major, and that requires something else. So the equal sign. Okay, so this is how you ask GetOpt to do the processing necessary to identify the various options. So let's get to what GetOpt returns. And that would be an option list and any remaining args. So let me show you an example of remaining arguments. Oh, I'll go back to ls minus l. So ls minus l, and then these are the remaining arguments. Okay, so GetOpt will return whatever's left over that isn't a command line option in args. But whatever it finds that it identifies as a command line option will show up in opt list. Okay, everybody with me? Okay. Here comes the exception. You want to be able to catch a special error set up by GetOpt, and it's called GetOpt error, and as G error. How's that? And what we can do here is just print G error and then exit the program with a non-zero, which indicates that some type of error took place. Okay. Okay. All right, so we're done handling the exception, if there was one. And now we can start our own processing of the command line arguments. And with that, we're going to capture two items. This is the list. So we're going to go through that whole list. Each item in the list consists of two items. Each member of that list consists of two items. So, and that would be the option itself and whatever argument that might go along with that option. Okay. So if the option is in, we'll make that a tuple. If it's -h, or if it's --help, all right, so we'll print the usage, not the print, usage, and then we'll exit the program, but with a 0 result saying everything's fine. Okay. Notice that -h doesn't have a colon after it. And over here, --help does not have an equal sign after it, which means I'm not going to make use of ARG since there's no contents for it. But we will use it in the next one. So how about elif option in -d, or also --data. Okay, so now we discovered that we have the D option or the --data option. That means arg is the data file equals arg. Okay. Or elif, the option in dash m or dash dash major, then the major would be arg. And for good measure, let's put in a final else. And that says, I didn't understand what you were trying to tell me. I found an unknown option. So let's just print unknown option, and we'll tell the user what it is that we found that was unknown. And we'll exit with a non-zero. And let me give you more room. Okay. So I'm going to add a few comments now, which will serve to further illustrate what's going on, as well as give you some more time to type this in. So we might specify initial values. Here, remember that get opt.get opt returns two values. The first is a list of found options with their values. Second is a list of whatever remained on the command line. So get opt takes three arguments. One is sys.argv start at argv1. So maybe a better way of, more clear way of splice argv. Okay. The second argument is the short options. These are single letters, optionally followed by a colon. If the colon is given, the user must supply an additional argument after the letter, i.e. dash M CSC. Okay, please ask me any questions, stop me if anything is unclear. Okay, then next is the third argument, whoops, 3. The last one here are a Python list of the long arguments, long options, sorry, where the equal sign stands in place of the colon above. I.e. dash dash major CSC, to tie that together. Okay. Anybody have any questions? All right. Now, then down here, op list is a list of tuples that contain the option given by the user and, if required, the value of the additional argument. I'm sorry, I'm using the words argument and option over and over again.
Professor, what is the
yeah.
difference between exit 0 and exit 1?
So exit 0 by convention means no error. And exit with a non-zero means something went wrong. Okay. Use of ARG example. Okay. Well, that added a lot of text. But comments do that, but they're really helpful. Always comment your code in some meaningful way. So there's one thing left. One thing left. This function called handle options is going to do all the work of handling our options, of finding out what the options are. But the thing that's left is, well, two things. One is I want to make sure that data file is filled in. And the other is, how do I transmit back to our main function what the options were? So two things left. Let's make sure -d or -- data was given. So if, what did we do? We initialized the variable data file to an empty string. If it's still an empty string, that means the user didn't give it, and that's an error. If data file still equals an empty string, let's give a useful error message. Data file must be specified using -d or -- data. And we'll exit with a 1. So that's going to enforce the requirement that -d or -- data is given. Okay, so the only remaining thing to do is pass the value of the options we found back to the caller. And we'll do that this way. So we'll return data file and major and any remaining arguments. So the remaining arguments we got here, and then we didn't use it again until we get down to the return of the function. So this is how we're getting the information that we found out of handle options. All right, so let's take a look at, let's write main. And we would say, data file and major, and the remaining arguments is equal to handle options. So that's how we receive the answers that handle options found. And let's print out. So let's see, print data file. And here's the value that we got for data file. And print. Now, if this was a real program, instead of printing them out, I would use them, do the rest of the program. But this is just an example. So major. And then let's also print if we got any remaining args. And we can exit 0 because everything was fine. Okay. I think we're ready for a test. Actually, we were ready for a test like 20 lines ago. Because remember what I keep telling you, write a little, test a little, write a little, test a little. Don't write too much before you test. Okay, let's bring back our terminal. Python, the name of my program is GoPy, and I'll give it nothing. And hey, let's see, let me make this window smaller, less high, to make sure it's off the bottom of your screen. Okay, so here we did not specify the data file, so we caught that. The data file must be specified. And where did we catch that? Right here, because we noticed that data file still, the variable data file still had an empty string. So let's try -d studata.csv, which is not really there. We're not checking to see if a file's really there, which we would in a real program. But let's just see what happens. Pretty cool. The data file variable contained what was given to the -d. Major correctly defaulted to all, and there were no other, there's no other text on the command line. So let's test --data, and I should get the same result. Oops, and I didn't. What did I do wrong? --data not recognized. Let's see, --data equals, it's right there. All right. Well, I think I'm doing it correctly. Apparently I'm not. So let me check the code that I wrote before class. Okay, elif option in. That is all correct. I wonder what I did wrong. What the heck? Let's try major and see what happens. Let's see if that works. All right, so I to make this work, I need to leave that there, but it's not cooperating unless I do that. So how about -m? Okay, so the short option correctly found the CSC. Now let's do the long option, --major. My long options, neither of my long options are working. I wonder why. Hmm. Well, that should work. It should work. Well, there's one thing here. Long opts equal. Let's put that in. That should have been optional. Let's try it again. Huh. Well, that's weird. I'll have to ponder that because I mean, I wrote this just before class. There it is. And it works fine. Yeah. Ah, that's funny. Hmm. Okay, so let's make believe. Is it working for any of you? The long options?
Mine aren't working.
Are not. Oh, how bizarre is that? There's only one thing different, and it can't be. It can't be. So on my what I did earlier is I made those double quotes, but that can't work. I mean, that can't be it. Yeah, of course, it's not it. Yeah. Yep, the option and so it's not failing here. It's failing in GetOpt. And zero, and you can see on my screen that I am calling it correctly. See, look, the first argument is args, and that's a list of the of argv. The second is a string. That's right. Whoops, I can't move my mouse. The second is short ops. That's a string. And then the third is long ops, and that's a list. All right. If I find the problem, which I'm stumped right now, I will let you know by email. But that's bizarre. Huh. So for now, let's just use the short options, which would be -M. Okay. Let me give you an example of one more. Sometimes you want to give a command line option, well, like ls, the -L. It changes the way your program is supposed to work, but it doesn't require an additional argument. So let's try adding that. And let's say, let's call it verbose. Verbose equals, and it defaults, the default value for verbose is nothing. So let's add in V for verbose. And even though it's not working now, I'm going to put in the long option. Oh, I think I just figured it out. I just remembered. And this is a problem with the way they designed it. Up here, you don't include the dash. This is just they designed it in such a way that it's not consistent. Okay, I think I figured it out. So up here, you don't use the dash, but down here you do. I'm going to change this from a string to a Boolean. So verbose defaults to false. And if the option is given, verbose changes to true. And now we have to pass it back. I'll just add it there, verbose and verbose. Okay, I think it's going to work now. I really do. There's the dash dash major. Ah, okay. Oh, I'm happy I figured that out. So once again, everybody, where I went wrong was up here when you're specifying the long options, don't give it the dash dash. But when you're actually testing what options were given, then you do. You do say dash dash. Sorry about that.
Where were all the places we put verbose in?
Okay, so I'm sorry that I added it late. So I initialized it. I wanted, the reason I added it is I hadn't given you an example of a binary option. Either it's there or it's not there. That makes it binary. So true or false, that it was present. And it does not require an additional string coming after it. So I gave it a default value. I added the short option and the long option. Notice no equal sign and no colon. That makes it the binary option. Either it's there or it's not there. And then I look for it. Is the option equal to dash V or dash dash verbose? If so, set true. It was found. And finally, you need to pass it back to the caller. And you need to catch it from the caller. Let's put in the print. Okay, let's try that. So verbose is false. But let me add in dash dash verbose. Verbose is true. And how about any remaining arguments? Any remaining arguments? And there they are. All right. Okay, anybody have any questions? Let me email this to you now. Copy path. And let's go to stop sharing for a moment. One-time code. Okay. Yeah, you know, the internet used to be easy and fun. Not anymore. This is why we can't have nice things. So let me email this file to you. Send a message and add The file, good, all right. Okay, almost there. Message field is required. Okay. Here is the post. And does it still have the file? I hope so. All right, well, I'll just send, and you tell me if you get the file. All right, the email has been sent. Did you get the file?
I think so. Let's see.
As an attachment? Okay, hoping for confirmation.
It's just an attachment, right, with everything?
Yeah,
I think I got it, yeah.
I
Good.
did too.
good, good. Okay, so now that you have an exact clone of mine, if you didn't already, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
I do. What's a cannot unpack non-iterable function object?
Uh, okay, let me
Or is
just
it
add
type
in
error?
the print dash V, or, yeah, I forgot to finish this. Okay, I will bet you're missing a set of parentheses somewhere, but let me make it possible for you to share your screen and we'll go hunting for it.
Okay.
Okay, you can share your screen now.
Visual Studio Code, that's the one. Share it. So,
Well, does anybody see it?
it says that she's here at data
Yeah,
file.
right? Well, it's on line 38. Not necessarily the problem with data file. The problem is not data file. Okay, do you remember what I said? I
Let's-
assume it'll be a missing set of parentheses?
Is it there?
Yep, handle options is a function.
Right.
Okay, try that now, please. Save it.
Doot, doot. Yay! Yep, that works. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? I have a prediction. As soon as I move to change the subject, someone will interject with a question. 3, 2, 1. Change of subject. Anybody have a question for the previous subject? No? Okay. Gabe, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Great. Any questions about this code?
No, I was following along and everything seemed, pretty on point.
Okay, so let me ask you a question, Gabe. What's the worth of what we just learned? What would you use it for?
I mean, you could use it for many things. I would say. I don't know like a specific use I would use it for, but um, yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of
Okay,
sorry.
so that's okay. It's all brand new to you. So the reason I'm presenting this material and what makes it so valuable is that with this technology, you're able to define meaningful command line options. Ones that meaningful meaning you can document them. They're not dependent upon their position within the command line. It makes more intuitive sense. So the goal is to write more polished command line tools.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
So you can put them in any order regardless of how we set them up in the functions, as long as you specify with like the dash D or whatever we were using.
That is correct.
Okay.
Right. Okay, question for the class. First person to answer has my undying appreciation because I'm all out of books. So let's take one of our projects. Now I used the StuData one. So this is a hypothetical question. I'm not asking you to actually do this, but how would you adapt? What command line options might you use for the current project, the one that is asking for all the pictures, making a flip book?
I mean, you have the option to get the JPEG files from the command line.
Yes, in fact, you have the option of getting them in multiple ways. So maybe you could use the command line options to specify which way you're going to use to load the images. So for example, you might have dash list and specify a file name that has the names of the other images, right? Or you might say find with no following argument, and that says use the automatic method. Anybody have some other comments? Maybe some ideas of how it could be used? How about an option like --GIF? So here's a program that's loading the pictures anyway. If --GIF is given, it'll write it out as a GIF file. There's an option and a possibility. So remember that you can use both lowercase and uppercase, and they mean something different. So for example, I wrote an application that helps me as a chair of a computer science department. The application goes through various student record reports that the campus gives me once per month. And I used -m to specify a minor and -M to specify a major. Okay, so remember you can use upper and lower case. So trust me, making your tools easy to use and making your tools kind of self-explanatory will really impress anyone you give code to. Right? So it's the difference between writing a little ditty and writing a tool is this finishing, these finishing touches. Okay. All right, anybody have any questions about this part of today's class? All right, well, finally, let's figure out how to save GIF files, okay? I've been promising that. Is anybody else interested in that besides me? Right? Because, thank you. Somebody's interested. Because you'd be able to write out one of these files, then upload it to a social media, and you're making your own animated GIF. So, of course, there are tools already existing that allow you to do it, but this one you get to make your own. Okay, so let's show a terminal. And here's a terminal. Okay, we need to import, we need to sneeze is what we need. Okay, I remember what we were doing. More and more lately, I walk into a room and say, why am I here? I don't know why I'm here. What was I doing? So we need to pip3 install image.io. Okay, everybody with me? Now, I've already got it, but your pip should do some installs. You will probably already have NumPy and Pillow. So what's new is going to be image.io.
To be clear, it's only pip3 for Mac users, right?
Correct. On Windows, just pip.
It's just pip. Okay.
Okay. Has everyone successfully installed? Good. So tell you what, make a copy of this program that we were just working on, and let's adapt it to making GIF files. And we'll tie together a few of the concepts that we've been learning in the last few classes. That's always a good thing as an instructor, to tie things together. Okay, so make a copy of this program, and we'll call it GIF Maker. George, call it anything you want.
Is
let's
there
start-
a fun little way that we can copy this real fast without using copy and paste?
Yes, you can. If you have your terminal open on Windows, it would be copy, I think. And mine is called go.py, so it'd be go.py space, let's say giffy.py. Hit enter. Try that. Is it copy on Windows? Because on the Mac, it would be CP. See, watch. So CP go.py to jiffy.py.
Yes, copy worked.
Okay, so let me edit Jiffy. All right. And let's start modifying. Well, for one thing, we're sure that we're going to need import image.io, since I just told you to install it. Image IO can read image files in the same exact way as CV2. So if you remember with when we were using OpenCV, we would do something like cv2.imread and then a picture. Okay, so it turns out that image IO is exactly the same thing. So it'd be image io.imread and give it a picture. So that's nice. So how about we use the technique where we specify the name of a file that contains the names of the pictures. How's that? Let's use that method. So let me go find, let's say no, that's a picture. Test 2. Oh, look, there it is. Load images from list file. So I'm going to bring that into Jiffy. And instead of using CV2, I'll just use image IO. Okay, it's complaining about OS. And so apparently we're using OS also, so import OS. So we're not going to have major. Let's leave in verbose, and I'll show you an example of how you might use a flag like verbose. But what should we use to, you guys tell me, what should we use to specify the file name? So what short option and what long option? So how about -F? And file list. Or, you know what? I don't like it anymore. How about list file? There, and we'll make it -L. Specifies name of file containing file names. That sounds funny, but it's true. Let's add another option to specify the name of the GIF file. Okay. So print -O, or for --output, specifies name of GIF file, defaults to, let's give it a default value of output.gif. And let me reduce some spaces here, since I noticed that it's pretty wide. And now I have room to say this one is required. Okay, now here's your job. So I'm going to leave this here. Go ahead and modify handle options. So for example, we don't need major anymore. Verbose is we're still using. So go ahead and modify this to match that specification. Okay, and please talk to each other. Give it a try. Give it a try. Okay, and I want to make sure we finish this, get all the way through this. So tell you what, I'll give you at least talk to each other if you don't actually write code, because I want to make sure we finish. So I'll give you another 5 minutes on this. So please talk to each other. Everybody unmute and talk.
Wouldn't we just have to change the, like instead of data file, we could say list file and then have it as an empty string. And then since it's required, and then output file could be equals output, and then like the output file, and that's the default.
Yes. Good job. So once again, I'll leave that, I'll leave the left-hand side and now modify the right-hand side after moving all of Zoom's panels out of the way. So this one is like, let's see, did I say it -L and dash list file? And we can just give this a better name, list file. And we also have output file equals, and the default value was output.gif. Okay. So H we're still using, and L takes an argument, so it needs a colon. And let's replace M with O. And V we're still using. So this would be -- list file. And this one would be output. And verbose is still verbose. All right, continuing on. Okay, we've got -L and -- list file. We've got verbose is still verbose, but let's see, list file is going into a different variable name. There. elif option in -O or -- output. And output file equals arg. All right, and this one, list file, is going to be there. And here, and output file. And let's see, let's correct that string. Okay. So I'm going to eliminate this side now so that you can see more, the full width on screen. Whoops. So I've modified handle options. So -L or -- list file requires an argument. And that's what the colon is for, and that's what the equal sign is for. -O specifies the output, and you've got to give it a name. So there's the colon and the equals, and then verbose is just a binary flag.
And what does
Okay.
it flag?
What?
And what does it flag?
You'll see. What we'll do is having like a -V or a -- verbose is pretty common. And what that does is it tells the program to print more to be more verbose, to print more. So what I had in mind is if verbose is not given, it just, the program will just read the pictures and write out the GIF file and otherwise be silent. But if verbose is specified, then what I'll do, what I was thinking is as each picture is read, I'll say, read this name, read this name, loaded this name, and then successfully output this name. So it's just more talkative. All right, so, okay, all right. So the rest of our changes is going to be in way down here. So let's see, this is going to be the list file. And this is going to be the output file. Good. So we've written a little. Now let's test a little. Which of course well, let me just put in print list file, output file, verbose, and args. I just want to make sure that the program is working. So Python 3 and Jiffy. Okay, good so far. Now I have a file called horses, I think. Well, I guess I don't. I thought I did. All right, so let me make a file called horses. So, and that's going to be 00.jpg. And I'm going to copy that enough times. Now let me edit it. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that is that. We'll call this horses.text. All right, so let's test -L horses. Good, so horses.text, output.gif is the default, and the default for verbose is false, and there are no other command line arguments. Good, I'm happy with that test. All right, so let's refresh our memory of what load images from list file does. So I'm going to give it as an input the value of list file, and it's going to return to me the images. And I'm going to implement the verbose in the following way. I'm going to say comma verbose equals, remember how to do default values for an argument? So it'll default to false. Then over here is where I'll actually do something with the image, with the verbose flags. We'll say if verbose, print out some additional information. And F. So if verbose, print out, hey, I successfully loaded a picture. And down here. So what was that? So the images, it gets returned by the, what was the name of that function? Load images. and will be list file and verbose. Let's try it. Here it'll be silent. H could not be found. That's funny. This is what it's like to develop code. Let's see, list file. Let's try some debugging here. Let's print out where did it get this H from? Ah, okay. I didn't actually read in the file, did I? I'm expecting the file to have already been read. So we have a little bit more modification to do. Remember, I don't have the, you know what, this is more of a pain than it was worth. Sorry about that. What is the fastest way? Why don't we just do it right? Who's in favor of just doing it right instead of taking a shortcut? Okay, so FList here is already a Python list. Let's go to, I should have in test2.py, find, yeah, so here it is. That's gonna read the file. Let's modify this. You see what I'm doing here is I'm taking old code and reusing it. That's always a good thing. So get file name, and we're gonna use it as, what was it called? List file. So we don't need this code. And we just replace that with list file. So this function, you give it the name of the file containing the file names. It will open it, read it, doing the strip of the trailing new line and appending to a list. All right, and then over here would be image list equals, what was the name of it? Get file names from a file, and that would get list file. And this would be image list. Okay, let's test a little. Good, that's the correct result. Let's try the verbose now. It successfully loaded a one image. Therefore, I've got some more debugging to do because it only loaded one image. For F and F list. So here, let's print the F list and see where the problem lies. Okay, so the problem is not in load images from list file. Rather, it must be in get file names from a file with, oh, yeah, it's obvious. I mean, the problem is right here. How would we read all of the lines? Line equals line, strip off that new line, and then okay, what do you think? So the way the way it was written before, it was mistaken, and it was only reading the first line. So now it's going to be all of the lines. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, so I got all the way with verbose. I was able to tell that I got all the way through except for one image, and that must be because I misspelled. Ah, there's no new line there. So now there is a new line. Good. So now we have code. Now we have code that will read all of the images into a data structure. And now all we need is a function to write the GIF file. Def write GIF. And we'll give it the image list. And here's how easy it is. With image io dot get writer, and we have to give it also the file name for output file. Let's see, so just output file, and the mode is write out an animation as writer. And it's just writer dot append. We need that in a loop. So for image in image list, append the image. And that's it. Oh, let's add in a, what's the problem here? Writer dot append, oh, append data. Yeah.
Also, it needs to be indented.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Thank you. Okay. And we want to, let's add some feature for the verbose. So here, that's comma verbose. And after the fact, we'll say if verbose print appended image to GIF file. Yeah, whatever. That's not very informative, but it's just an example. Let's try it. Well, first, let's see. There's nothing here called output.gif. So let's see if we create one. Well, we didn't create one. You know why? Because I forgot to call write GIF. I wrote it, but I didn't make use of it. Okay, so down here is write GIF and images, the output file, and the verbose. Oh my, I'm getting excited. Here's output.gif. There you go. Okay, let me email this program to you. So make sure that you have it. Let's see, copy path. And send message. And okay. So I'm just really stunned about how easy it is to just write out a GIF file. Now, one word of warning is, notice there's nothing here that says use GIF. The mode-I just says there's multiple images. So ImageIO knows how to write many different file formats. It's choosing GIF because you specified on the command line a file name that ended, well, we didn't specify on the command line. It defaulted to using something that ended in .gif. That's how ImageIO knew to write a GIF file. Wow. So back in, I don't know, 1988, 1989, this would have been several weeks of coding. And in fact, it was, because I wrote programs to do this in the late 80s. Made a lot of money writing programs to do stuff like this. Imagine a time before JPEG files existed. And the only way to post something on the internet at that time was a GIF file. Okay. Folks, I think this semester has been a success. Any questions?
Just to make sure, I know the midterm wasn't, but I think maybe I mistook you saying this in class on Tuesday, but is the final going to be in class, or is the class just going to be used for answering questions?
The class time will be used for answering questions. So and because the exam is open to you all day, it's perfectly fine if you're doing the exam later in the day. You can also drop in using exactly the same Zoom link into the afternoon class.
Okay.
Okay, so if you have questions in the morning, come here. And if you have questions in the afternoon, come here, same place.
Fine.
Are we going to review on Tuesday then?
Yes, we are. And that will be only in class. So what we'll do for review is we'll take some questions, but then we'll retake a modified version of the midterm. So I'm happy. I hope you're happy too. Anybody have any questions? Okay, well, I'm tardy in getting some videos posted, so I'll take care of that. And like I said, I did make progress towards getting those books onto campus. I actually fished out the books, and I had exactly the right number left. So I'll be taking care of that. I was rereading it the other day. It's actually a pretty good book, if I do say so myself. Yeah, it would make a great movie. Some days one of you will become a movie producer. You got to turn this into a movie. Okay, if there's no questions, we'll say goodbye and I'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Wait, I have a quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't
Thank
know
you.
why, but it keeps giving me, when I try and run it, it says data file must be specified using the -d or -- data. So I think I must have missed something.
Yeah, so that might be in the modifying handle options for this
Okay.
program. So now it's L and list file. And I did email this to you, so you have it, you have it in your email.
Okay, I'll compare each one.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you. See you next week.
Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.